All right, welcome back to H2H. Tasos, we got the NFL playoff starting wild card round to dive into. You are coming off of a win last week. We were just kind of doing the math prior to hitting the record button. You won by a narrow margin, but a win nonetheless. The beauty of this show is you come in here, even if you win by 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 units on a week, doesn't matter. There's no pictures on the scorecard. You get a win. So now you're sitting at 6-11. I'm 11-6. You are in a position where you have to win out, right, all the way to the Super Bowl. So good win for you yesterday. We're now at playoff football. I got two questions for you. How does it feel to now be in the playoff football for the 2 years that we've done this show? It kind of feels weird to me that it's already here. And then secondarily, are you nervous? You fired up after a win? What do we got?
To answer the first question, it's crazy that now we're almost done with year 2 of the show. Like, it feels like yesterday we were on the phone kind of brainstorming ideas for this, and now we're 2 years later, and it's like it's just crazy. It's crazy that the NFL regular season is over. Like, I feel like this year, I don't know, sometimes I kind of match to like being a Patriots fan. Like, this year was, in my entire life, the fewest I think I've ever watched Patriots football. And I watched every game, but, I would turn it off at points, and I get frustrated and stop watching. That never happened. So I don't know if it's because I didn't watch as much Patriots football, and that made me feel like the season went by faster. I don't know. It feels like this year, more than ever before, flew by so fast. Like, I feel like I blinked and I missed the entire regular season. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even from us making in videos and whatnot, right? It was like, I literally can picture us planning out when we're going to schedule things, when we're going to do record. And all of a sudden, like I just said, we're at playoff football. It's like, what happened? But nonetheless, I mean, like I said, you're coming off a win here. Let's take our sentimental values, put them aside, being like, it's fast, it's slow. How are you feeling now in H2H, year 2, heading into the playoffs?
Listen, all I gotta say is like, and listen, I understand the odds are against me. I gotta do something even last year, I don't think I ever went on a streak that long of beating you 5 or 6 weeks in a row. It's a difficult task, but you know what? As long as I have a chance, I'm fired up. Like, winning last week.
True.
You know what? And after that Steelers loss, I thought I was dead. I'm like, that's it. It's over. Stick a fork in me. I'm over. But then something happened that gives me a little bit of hope. You finally had your first bad week of the season.
Yep.
And that does encourage me moving forward, because maybe the tides are starting to shift. Maybe you're going to start cooling off a little bit, and all I need is an opportunity.
I don't know. Maybe it was because that was the weirdest, wonkiest NFL week. I mean, it's week 18. Fair. But that being said, you could be right. I mean, if this is a game of streaks, which obviously betting a lot of the times is, yeah, I had 17 good weeks, which, hand up, that's awesome. And you can even admit that.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
One bad week can definitely get me overthinking. I don't care if it's a weird, wonky week. It's like, I don't feel as confident coming off of a loss. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. So I do hear you. And you still have, to some degree, some hope with, not even to some degree, you still have hope with that preseason one as well. So for you guys watching, we did a preseason show with futures, which Tasos, if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, essentially, Tasos is going to win that preseason one. So he has another win in his back pocket. But overall, yeah, I do think that was honestly like a weird week. Again, like, you lost the double down, and I was thinking, all right, here we go. Let's finish Tasos off. And then I just didn't.
Pause.
Whoa, it's only been like a couple minutes. We're getting into that type of thing. We'll put it behind a paywall. But I did think, I was like, oh man, here we go. Like, let's close out the year. And then the rest of my picks just absolute stinkers. So yeah,
the total tease. I don't know why I stopped doing it. Maybe if I did it every week, I'd be winning more. I don't know why I stopped doing it for like a month, but
you did. It's almost like you forgot about it. Yeah,
haven't lost this year.
The big tease is just in full effect here. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into the show. We got a couple.
One thing real quick. I'm going to say this right now. This week, I think, is the most important week ever in HH for me, because if I win this week, you're going to start getting nervous over there, because that's a couple weeks in a row. One, I'm narrowing the margin, but number two, every week from this point on, it's fewer and fewer games. I'm going to start getting in your head a little bit, I think. If I start winning some games, you're going to be like, oh my God, I got to close this out. Let me start looking, and you're going to start maybe overthinking some picks here and there.
Yep.
Maybe you won't, but if I win this week, the pressure's going to start coming on you, because if you blow this lead, if you blow what was an 11-4 or 11-5 lead,
kind
of embarrassing.
Yeah, I know, but when you think about it, I'm still the one that doesn't have my back against the wall. So if I had
That's
to,
fair.
if I had to pick my shoes or your shoes, my seat, your seat, it's like I don't think that I'm being like, yeah, you know what, I like what you're saying, Tasos. I want to switch. So
You
yeah,
know what?
you
I like the position I'm in. I'd rather be back against the wall.
okay.
I'm up for the challenge.
I've been in the position you're in. You don't like it.
I love it. I love being the underdog. It's the best place to be because the victory is that much sweeter. If I come back and do this, I'm throwing a party. I'm throwing a party. We're throwing a huge celebration if I win this.
All the people that have been commenting Team Tasos all year long
Yes.
are invited, a little barbecue or something like that. All right, a couple things to note here. We'll talk about Outlier in just a second, the sponsor of the show, Tasos. You can do that. But first, I wanted to note that this week, because we do have a decent amount, 6 playoff games, we'll do a normal show. As you kind of mentioned, as we have fewer and fewer games, we may go down to 3 rounds or, 2 rounds with a fade me or that type of thing. So the show may alter in the next coming weeks just because, again, less games. So anyone watching, we'll still have H2H throughout the rest of the year, but just in terms of, obviously 4 rounds total, we may not have 8 plays each and every week. And then Tasos, Outlier. We love him. What do you have to say about him?
Outlier is the best, and the other thing that's giving me hope going into this end of H2H, they're going to help me out here. They're going to help me get this victory against Ev. Shout out to Outlier. They've been sponsoring us all year long, both this video series, all of our videos. They're a great sponsor of the channel. It's the best sports betting tool in the market. I actually had somebody, was it one of my, I think it's my NBA player prop how-to video, which, by the way, it's almost at 50,000 views, which is crazy. Somebody commented, like, are you just doing this because they're paying you? And it's like, we both said this, like, I was using Outlier before we were sponsored. Like, It was a fantastic tool, even if they weren't paying us, which, it is a fact. We are sponsored, but even if they weren't sponsoring us, I'd still use Outlier. It is truly the best sports betting tool in the market, especially now with like the NBA in full swing, with MLB on the horizon. Those sports which are so analytics driven, having Outlier by your side is so important. It consolidates everything, patterns, trends, averages, everything that you need to make smart sports betting choices. It provides even professional insights that they create for you.
Yeah, if you don't have the time, right? Isn't that the best spot? It's like if you're coming off of a long day of work, you don't have the time to do what we do and dig in. That insights page just gives you trending plays in the market, like right there and there. So I mean, yeah, you're totally right.
It's awesome. And like I said, it truly makes you, and I say this in every one of my videos where I talk about Outlier, it does make you a smarter and a better sports bettor. It makes you look at things from a different perspective. It's a great tool. Guys, if you don't have something like this, you're going to spend either hours doing research, or you're not going to do any research at all, and you're going to end up losing a lot more money. So I'm telling you guys, use Outlier. We have a special link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial. Check it out for yourself. If you don't believe me, if you think all I'm saying right now is bullcrap, go ahead, check it out for yourself. Go look through it. There's so much information, so much insight to help you guys out. It really is the best tool. If you guys don't know how to use it, watch our videos. In every one of our videos, we go through Outlier and show you guys how it works, the kind of the stuff that shows you. And we only give you kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more. There's EV value betting and all this other stuff that it provides. So go check it out. Link down below in the description. 7-day free trial.
100%. Check that out down below. But all right, you ready to dive into this wild card week here? It looks like you're ready. Fired up. I will be honest. I'm just going to say it so it doesn't come out. I am a little nervous. I am a little nervous.
There it is.
I
got him right where we want him.
I am a little nervous because I don't know how you feel, but like there's only a few spots that I actually like of this wild card slate. A couple of these, like for playoff games, large spreads, but they kind of make sense. So we'll see. But you guys are going to see a wheel on your screen here. Just one slice for me, one slice for Tasos. Whoever this lands on is going to go first. I'm going to go ahead and spin it. I'm assuming Tasos wants the
Nope, I want
ball.
you to have it first.
Oh, okay.
I want you to have it. I want the pressure on you, but it's going to be
that.
Whoa,
whoa.
Oh,
wait a second.
You.
Me. All right.
I want the pressure on you. I want to see what you do here.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind having it first because I only have 1-ish or 2 of each of these spots. You know what I mean? So I think that actually might end up being a good thing. But I mean, round 2, I'll be second. But overall, you're going to see another wheel on your screen now. Just 5 slices. We have a total slice, a spread slice, a plus money play slice, and a player prop slice. We're going to spin this one. I think I'm liking the totals so far this week. So I think that's what I'm asking for here. Anything that you like in particular?
Everything.
Uh-oh.
Everything and anything. The world's my oyster.
All right, here we go. Let's spin it. Give me a total. Total. Give me a total, and it goes right by it.
No, right past that. And you're going to go ahead and get a spread here.
Yeah,
which
I don't mind this. This is probably
Yeah.
my second here. So, all right, spread will be off the board moving forward now. Tasos, I'm going to a squad that has not let me down all year long. Taking an alternate line. I'm really hoping that they are healthy here, but I'm going Eagles -3. It's an alternate line, -155. I was hoping to get the Eagles some way, shape, or form in this game. I've talked about the Eagles plenty, right? And we throw in the fact that, I say I hope they're healthy. Jordan Love is banged up. He might not even play. I think he said he's hopeful to play. So I'm assuming, playoff time, I kind of feel like that means you're going to play in a sense, but you never really know. Eagles -3. I think they're the better team. We saw this matchup, what was it, week 1 of the season when they played in, where did they play? Brazil?
Brazil,
And
yeah, it was a stupid game. Playing in Brazil was just ridiculous.
Eagles won 34-29. Do I put much weight into that? Honestly, not necessarily, but I do like the idea that the Eagles offense, kind of was able to play well against that Green Bay defense. Green Bay's defense got better throughout the year, but if Jalen Hurts comes back, if we do see a healthy team, I think that this is a potential Super Bowl bound team. Obviously, I have the future on them. Give me Eagles -3. They're 4.5-point favorites, so yeah, I'm paying a little bit of juice. Again, that's -155 to get them here.
Yeah, I don't hate it, especially the fact that you're taking it down to 3. Like that's a smart play there. I don't really have much to say negative about this, especially because of the fact that Jordan Love got banged up last week.
Yep.
This Packers defense too. I've had my question marks with them. Like their offense is solid, no doubt, but their defense gives me some cause for concern.
They've had some big
Eagles,
spots in which you would think that they would kind of show up, and like they didn't. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like when the Packers have had to play like good competition, they have typically struggled, which has been a little bit of, like I said, a cause for concern if you're a Packers fan here. Like, they played the Vikings, they gave up 27 points. They played Detroit, they gave up 34 points. It seems like when they play like these bigger teams, the first time they played Detroit, 24 points, like they typically, when they play these better teams, that's when they've kind of fallen apart a little bit. And, they lost the Eagles earlier this year, which I know it doesn't add too much weight, but you also add the fact the Eagles are 10-1 in their last 11 games as a favorite, which is pretty crazy. They've also kind of been a sleeping giant the last few weeks where it's like, Jalen Hurts, he gets concussed in that Commanders game. And let's be honest, he probably could have played sooner than that, but they rest him a little bit longer. Saquon was out last week. They've been resting the starters pretty much for the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I think the Eagles are going to be really well rested. They're going to come in this game with the home field advantage, which playing a playoff game in Philadelphia is one of the crazier atmospheres in the NFL. So, I do think the Eagles have the clear advantage in this spot. Getting down to -3 is really important because I do think you could get some trickery. If you get at the 4.5-point line, you could end up getting screwed on something. But I do like the Eagles a lot. I think this team is legit. Now, when they play eventually a Detroit or someone else, we'll see. But I think they're definitely a tier above Green Bay, as great as Green Bay has been this year. And I think Green Bay has a coaching advantage. I do think Matt LaFleur, I think he's a slightly better coach than Nick Sirianni. But I do think the Eagles, their roster is just so stacked. I can't argue against it. So solid pick. Solid pick. Right. Can't really hate against it. Now, you do give me a little bit of a difficult spot because actually I was probably looking in the same ballpark. But I'm going to go ahead here, and I have a couple options. I have like 2 picks where I'm basically deciding between. I'm going to go ahead and rock with this one. I'm going to go Vikings -1.5. Now, I know they're coming off of obviously a very disappointing loss to the Lions to close out the year. They were trying to get the 1 seed. That obviously disappointing. I still trust this Vikings team. They played this Rams team earlier in the year, and they did lose. That was like kind of when the Rams first got Puka Nacua back and Cooper Kupp back, and it was kind of a shocking thing. And the Rams obviously beat the Vikings 30-20, which is a pretty crazy game. But the Rams are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games versus top 10 scoring defenses. This Minnesota defense is so good where they're going to put pressure on Matt Stafford. I think on the Vikings offense, I think their offense is probably better than it was back then. Now they have Hawkinson. And again, I know it's hard to say that coming off of what you just saw in that Sunday Night Football battle against Detroit. But this Vikings team, besides that Lions loss, have been trending in a pretty solid direction. They had that big win versus Green Bay the week before the Lions game. I find it really hard to believe that this Vikings team, for winning 14 games, going through all the stuff they've gone through this year, they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. I think this team is too good to lose that early. And I know the Rams, obviously, this team that won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They're a really talented squad. I just have really big questions regarding their defense. I don't trust their defense. And on the offensive side of things, yes, they have a great offense, but this Vikings defense is really solid. all the insights also point in the direction that say the Rams are not the right play here. I just mentioned they're 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games versus top 10 defenses. Also, the Rams are 5-12 in their last 17 games as an underdog, which they are an underdog in this spot. So a lot of data pointing to the Vikings probably being the better play here. And like I said, just from a matchup perspective, the Rams offensive line, it's pretty solid overall, but this is the Viking. This Vikings pass rush is insane. Their blitz rate is nuts. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the spread's pretty accurate. That 1.5-point spread is pretty accurate, and I just think the fact they played once already this year. I think the Rams with Kevin O'Connell, great coach. Obviously, the Rams also have great coach Sean McVay. This is going to be a really good game. You actually are going to be covering this one, I think, in the single bet video.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what you do because this is going to be a really good. I think this is honestly of all the playoff games in the round one, this might be the best. Where it's like these are two teams that are really really well coached, have a lot of star power on both sides of the ball. But I do think I'm going to take Vikings -1.5 here. I think the public's also going to overreact a little bit to the Lions loss. And looking at the money perspective right now, the public seems to be on Minnesota a decent.
Yeah, marginally there. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. Of course, this is early in the week, so we'll see as we get closer to Monday.
Yeah,
so I go Vikings -1.5.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Now I have, truth be told, I haven't done the full breakdown of this game yet in terms of my video that will be coming out as a sole video, so I'm not spoiling anything here. I do think early indications, I do lean with you because you even mentioned, the Rams having a good offense. If you look at the Rams' recent games, like where they're lucky they played San Francisco, New York, Arizona, Seattle. I mean, I know Seattle they end up losing to, but like they're pretty lucky. Like if Arizona doesn't stink in week 17, Seattle may be leapfrogging and taking a playoff spot away. You know what I mean? So it's like this Rams team is a little bit questionable in my opinion as of right now. And by the way, all the fires and whatnot in California right now, hopefully if you are around there and everything, hopefully you're safe. One thing that could affect in this game is NFL released a statement yesterday saying they may, and if they do, they will move the game to keep it at the same time, but they may move it to Arizona. That would only benefit the away team, right? Like I know that's still closer to the Rams, so it's like, yeah, it's still a home game in a sense for them, but that's super, super important. So not to, make a tragic thing that's going on related to betting, but it is true. Like that can only help the away team. So I can't really disagree with it. The only thing that I would maybe pick at here, and it's not all that solid, would be I do like McVay and Stafford kind of in this spot going up against what could be maybe like wow, Sam Darnold really stepped up this whole season only to potentially fall flat in like a playoff spot. Like, you know what I mean? One guy has lived there, one guy hasn't, but the defense is such a different animal. It's like that defense can still pull things out there. So I think Sam Darnold, like, I question to some degree, but it's almost like the rest of the team I trust more, if that makes sense. But the quarterback's pretty damn important in football, obviously. So
and I think that's the Vikings. We've seen this happen before. Right? We saw it a couple years ago with Kirk Cousins, where like they had this great regular season.
They do that.
And they just fall on their face in the playoffs. And again, Darnold has no playoff experience whatsoever. Yeah. Whereas Matt Stafford and this Rams team, we're only a few years removed from them winning a Super Bowl. So, they have way more experience for sure. And like I said, the spread is, I think, as accurate as it could be. Like, this is a really big toss-up game.
I like that, yeah.
I do think the fact that they played them once earlier this year, I think the Vikings have a good idea now of what to expect. I think they're going to make adjustments. And I think the Vikings offense is better. Like I said, they didn't have TJ Hawkinson at the time. I think the Vikings offense is a little bit of a better spot this time around. So it's a toss-up, very close game. But I think if you look at the other spreads, honestly.
Yeah, we can talk about them now because now there's no more spreads on the board. That's kind of what I was saying. There's like a couple, like the Ravens are a massive number, but you also don't feel that comfortable going like Steelers. Same thing with Bill. Like there's some weird ones out there. Bills, Broncos. It's like that's a big number, but yeah, it's like makes a little bit of sense. Like I'm glad I went first here because I do think the Eagles are my favorite, but I probably would either pivot to that Washington and Tampa Bay game or this Minnesota one, I would say.
Yeah. The Washington Tampa Bay game, I that's what I was going to pick originally, but then I'm like, you know what? The problem with that game is both defenses are bad and both offenses are really good. And when that happens, it's completely up in the air because it's all dependent basically on which offense is going to screw up first. And I just, I would lean Tampa Bay in that spot, but I could see Washington definitely winning that game because the Bucs defense is truly bad. So
yeah,
I don't know, but I think the Vikings were probably the safer play.
I think so.
As safe as you could be, I guess, with round one.
I guess we got to be careful talking about spreads because we still do that the fade me round. Now that I think about it,
yeah.
But anyways, yes, I don't mind your spot there at -1.5. All right, we're gonna jump into round number 2. Tasos, you're gonna be starting us off here. You say the world is your oyster, the wheel's your oyster. We have 4 spots left now. That spread is not there. We're gonna spin it. Let's see what we got. Again, total is still something that I would like to see, and it looks like I might get my wish here. Keep going, baby.
Wish.
Yeah, but you're starting this off, so
yeah,
that could be tough. All right, total is on the board.
All right. We're going to go ahead and rock with the total tease here. We're going to go with the under and the Chargers-Texans game, which we're taking the touchdown off, so we're doing under 49.5 in that Chargers-Texans game. Okay. And then in the let's see, what was the other one that I had highlighted? In the Ravens Steelers game, we're also going to go ahead and tease the under, which would take a touchdown off of it. So that will take that to under 50.5 points. So those are my two spots there: under 50.5 for Steelers Ravens, under 49.5. Yeah, for the Chargers Texans. Look, I think both those totals honestly are not bad at their own rate, right? But I do think that if you take a touchdown off, it just makes it even better. Starting with the Ravens Steelers. Now, I think everybody's looking at that last game they played on December 21st, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's." Prior to that, the under was a lock in all these games. Like, that game was a bit of an outlier. I think you could tell the Steelers in that game kind of gave up. That was when they were in that gauntlet of like 3 games in 10 days, and they played the Eagles and the Chiefs and the Steelers. The previous 3 battles, the total never passed 35 points. Like, it was 34, 27, and 27 in the previous 3 meetings, including the one early this year where it was November 17th. That was an 18-16 win for the Steelers, 34 total points. So the under consistently had been hitting. It hit the over the last time these two teams played. This time around, playoff battle too, where you have that atmosphere of, hard-nosed AFC North football in the postseason, in the cold. I just don't foresee this being a really high-scoring game, whether it be because both teams don't score a lot or maybe the Ravens kick their ass and the Steelers don't score a lot. I just don't see this being a high-scoring game. And now when you add the 7-point touchdown, now you have an under of 50.5. I don't see this game being that high of a scoring affair. Now, on the Texans-Chargers game, this is an ugly game. Yeah. 2 really good defenses against 2, I would say, average at best offenses. The Texans in particular have really been struggling lately with all the injuries on the offense and whatnot. You look at the last 5 games for both these teams. A couple high-scoring games for each of them, but they've also played some garbage competition like the Chargers. Their overs have been going over, but they played the Patriots and the Raiders. And, I think both these teams, look at the matchup here, I just don't foresee a lot of points being scored. The insights provided by Outlier. The under is hit in 12 of the Chargers' last 16 games on the road as well. You have that going for you. Like I said, these are 2 really good defensive teams, both really good pass rushes, both offenses I just have a lot of question marks for. The Chargers, they have the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. The Texans, they're the 14th scoring defense in the NFL. But, Texans top 10 against the pass, 11th against the run. The Chargers, top 10 against the pass, top 15 against the run. Whatever way you want to spin it, both these defenses are solid and both these offenses are just way too inconsistent. So I think you take a touchdown off of, or you add a touchdown, I should say, to both those totals. Those unders look really sweet. So that's my pick here for the totals.
Is that the first total tease that you've gone under this season?
Back-to-back unders? Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that could get a little dicey. Maybe you're an over total tease guy. Who knows?
I've used unders that's the first time I've done 2 unders. I've used an under before. That's the first time I've done 2 unders.
All right, so I guess you still have the track record for those. Yeah, I don't mind the spots, and I do like the idea of you kind of going under in definitely that Steelers and Ravens one, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, that Ravens team, the offense is cooking. They can put up big points. It's like, let's still give a little bit of credit to this Pittsburgh defense, even though it hasn't been all that great. If there's any time they're going to show up, it's going to be against a rival in their rival's house in the cold. But Baltimore's defense, now the competition they've played hasn't been all that tremendous, but that Texans game where they only scored 2 points is going to skew this number. But last 3 games for Baltimore, they're allowing 9.7 points per game to their opponent.
Yeah.
This Steelers offense isn't exactly much better. They've only scored 14.7 points per game in their last, 3 games. So, yeah, I do like that idea. I could see this going one of 2 ways, kind of like you mentioned, a defensive affair, or if Baltimore just kind of packs it in, I think, Pittsburgh's going to be like, all right, well, we made the playoffs again, but see you later. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't mind that. I do definitely think that LA and Houston one's a toss up. Both, you're right that both teams are good defenses, right? So I think that you can hang your hat on that. And I think that that's still the side that I would jump to overall. You know what I mean? Like I was considering that under, just because the offenses are kind of like questionable. Obviously, there's so many injuries this year to the Houston Texans, and CJ Stroud is not the same guy he was last year. Herbert's looked pretty good though. Good. Now, is he playoff good? Like that's the thing about the playoffs. Anything can change. You have two young quarterbacks, so I think that that's actually my biggest sort of siding with you factor. It's like defense. If you have a good team defense, I think that that correlates to playoff. Play a lot more than throwing two young quarterbacks into the mix who may have to like feel themselves out a little bit. So yeah, I like it. I think that that's more of the wild card. I really do like, and I hadn't really thought about that game all that much, but I think I do like the way you explained that Baltimore and Steelers under. I could see that, especially it's going to be like 20. I just looked it up. It was like going to be like 25
cold,
degrees or something. Yeah,
it's cold. And then you also have the Lamar Jackson playoff factor, which I think a lot of people. True. This happens every year where like the Ravens have a great regular season. Lamar's probably going to at least be in the MVP conversation, if not win the MVP. But historically speaking, when he plays in the playoffs, he falls apart. And not only that, like I said, we're creatures of recency bias. Like we look at what happened recently, and we take that as religion. The Steelers had dominated Lamar Jackson most of his career. Like that was the big thing. Lamar can't beat the Steelers. He beats them one time on December 21st when they don't have Pickens, when they're playing again 3 games in 10 days, and they had a really rough game against the Eagles just a couple days prior. And we're running with that, like, oh, Baltimore, they own Pittsburgh now. And I get it. Pittsburgh's been on a really rough run of late, but this is still a really solid Steelers team. They had a gauntlet of a schedule to close out the year. And again, historically, Mike Tomlin has known how to handle Lamar Jackson. So, yes, Lamar had a really good game the last time out, but remember, earlier this year, 18-16, the Steelers won. So I think the under is still probably the smarter play. Will we see another 34-17 game? I would be surprised. But yeah, I think especially when you add a touchdown, now you're at 50.5 points. It's a lot of points for them to score.
Right. I'm going in a different direction. I'm not looking at an under. I am looking at an over. We did already mention this game. I like, and it's an alternate line. So my plays so far are going to be fairly juiced. This is minus 150. So I'm going to have to hit at a pretty good clip this week, at least so far. We talked about it. I like the Bucks and Commanders over. I'm taking it at 47.5.
Good pick.
We pretty much talked about why already. I don't think the strong suit of these two teams are obviously their defenses. You look at Washington's offense, they're legit. They really are. And Tampa Bay, like the way that they can score in bunches. I don't know if you watched much of that New Orleans game, but it looked like Tampa Bay couldn't do much, and then all of a sudden you blink and they have 27 points. It's like they can move the ball. Baker has had a season and a half. So is Jaden Daniels, obviously. So yeah, I'm looking for points in this one. My one concern is that this could be almost, I guess no one can take it now, but I considered Bucks team total over because again, if you haven't picked up the vibe yet, it's like I still question some of these first time quarterbacks in the playoffs and whatnot. We talked about Darnold. Now I'm thinking about Jaden Daniels. Like, do the Commanders take that same offense into the playoffs? Not sure. I know Baker's obviously doesn't have the most amount of playoff experience, but I kind of trust him as he's played more years in the NFL. So I punted around the idea of over 24.5 for the Bucks. If I could have gotten it at 23.5, that would have been my play over this 47.5 total. But I'm just going with the game total. It's an alternate line at 47.5. I'm not going to field goal off of it. I think it's 50.5 right now. So over 47.5. I'm just hoping that Daniels can bring in what he's done all year.
Yeah, I have nothing negative to say about this one. This honestly I was considering putting the over in this game in the total tease. The only reason why I have any cause for concern is the fact that I think so many people are also going to be riding the over. So that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause for concern. But I these two teams, both defensively, are not very good. Both offensively are really solid. The only thing that would make me a little nervous is that Washington's defense. What makes them so bad is that you can run all over them. Now, the Bucks do have a pretty good running back tandem, but their pass defense is actually pretty solid. They're actually top 3 in the NFL in terms of passing yards allowed. So they're actually a pretty decent pass defense. It's their rushing defense. It's a problem. Tampa Bay, where they really make their money, is Baker Mayfield in the passing game. But again, I don't. If you watch the Commanders' last couple games, even like that Atlanta game a couple weeks ago, where they did win the game, but they gave up 24 points to the Falcons and Michael Penix. Like this Commanders defense, one of the reasons why they had a little bit of a fall apart, like in the middle of the year where they kind of trailed off, was this defense is just not reliable. This Bucks team is just they're honestly one of the more fun teams to watch in the NFL. Like
Seriously.
they can just score at like you said, like they can look terrible for a hot minute, and then all of a sudden Baker Mayfield can just like the no lead is safe with this team. Like I don't care if they're down by 20, I would still bet Bucks live probably because that's how they are. But yeah, I really don't have too much negative to say. I think this is a good pick.
You did mention the public and using outlier here. You could see obviously the percent of bets and percent of money. This game now, this is the normal line, so 50.5. So you can only assume it's even more exaggerated when you take an alternate. For me, 71% of the bets on the over, but 61% of the money on the under. So there's definitely some sharps looking at an under in this spot, which doesn't surprise me. But either way, again, like the public's right plenty of the time. You know what I mean? So I don't think it turns me off that much. But overall, that is definitely worth noting.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for round number 3 here?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right, we have just 3 pie pieces left here. We have plus money play, player prop, and money line. I liked total and spread most, so I think that I at least got lucky that we got those out. There's definitely going to be some last minute thinking in a couple of these plays for me. So I am starting us off here, right? So I kind of want to go player prop. Money line I could definitely get behind, but again, like I feel like some of these, there's not many great money line spots in my opinion. So let's spin it. I'm hoping for a player prop. Last time I said total and we got it. So let's see. That's probably going to go past it, isn't it? If that sits,
it's going to sit.
All right, Tasos, I'm calling the wheel pretty well today.
You're doing pretty good with that, yeah.
Which I don't know if that correlates to success or not. I don't know if we have the numbers on that one. But all right, I do have a couple player props here.
I gotta stop you. You know what? I don't want any ill will going in. It's my turn.
I just took the over in the Commanders and Bucks game.
Yeah, you started off first the last round.
No, you took the total Steelers teaser, right?
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. You know what?
Here we go.
I tried to be I tried to be nice. I was like, oh man, like he messed up. Like let me tell him. I'm not gonna. All right, never mind. That's good for me actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I do have, this is one of the, and it's kind of going to be correlated to my Eagles play, but Saquon Barkley right now, touchdown minus 138. He scored 3 last time they played Green Bay. Even when he was in New York, he had 2 last time he played them. Jalen Hurts being back to tush push, obviously you can kind of vulture and whatnot, but I think because this is playoffs, because it's a first round matchup, you're getting some good numbers. Like Saquon Barkley touchdown lines this year have been untouchable. Do you know what I mean? Like they're minus 200 and whatnot. The fact that we can get it at a reasonable number right now, I'm all over it. So this is definitely one of my spots that I would like here. And I mean, you look at Green Bay, only the ninth fewest amount of touchdowns against so far this season. You filter it to running backs. Again, this is courtesy of Outlier. They jumped to 16th. So yeah, that's still middle of the pack, but that's a pretty big discrepancy in a sense, you know what I mean? So yeah, I like Saquon to punch one in here, especially coming off of I guess you could say a week and a quarter of rest because he didn't play the 4th in that game against Dallas. So yeah, I like the spot.
Yeah, I can't argue it. Like Saquon scoring touchdowns, like Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown. It's like you can almost bet it every week, and you're going to make at least some amount of units on that play.
Yep.
You know, the Packers run defense, I know the numbers are not bad, but like I don't trust them. I don't trust this run defense. They Green Bay, like I said, their defense has really been they hoodwink a lot of times where it's like, you know, like last year, everyone knew the defense was bad. This year, because of some things with the schedule and, you know, sometimes they played teams when they were hurt and whatnot, they look better than they actually are. But I do think this Packers defense, specifically their run defense, is very, very suspect. So I can't argue with it. I like the spot for you.
Yeah, I mean, even to that point, right? It's like, talk about any defense. It's like, well, now it's Saquon. You know what I mean? It's almost like being like, well, Giannis against a team that's good in the paint. It's like at some point, it might not matter if the player is obviously it's not a dream matchup, but at some point the player is so dynamic and good that it's like still makes a little bit of sense. So yeah, that's where I'm going with this one.
All right, on my end, a little tricky here, but I kind of going back to that Bucks Commanders game. I think there's a lot of value to be found on some of these player props here, but I'm gonna go with this one because I do think this is all reliable, and I think he's as trustworthy as you can get when it comes to receptions props. I'm going Mike Evans over 5.5 receptions here. We're getting that for minus 125, minus 130 on BetMGM. Bet365, do you have that available to you? I don't know.
I don't, but it's fair. It's in New York in those states, so I think that's fine if you can get odds there. You won't be able to take it.
It's minus 125 versus minus 130.
Go with the minus 125. We'll do that because a lot of people do have access to that book.
All right, so we'll do -125. But it is available on pretty much every sports book. So
Yep.
if you guys don't have it, you can find it somewhere else for multiple odds. Now, the overall data for this one actually isn't that great. He's only cashed the over in 36% of his games this year, 5 out of 14, averaging 5.29 receptions per game. So he's close to that line pretty consistently, but he hasn't cashed it all that much. Now, like the Ravens game, for example, he had 1 catch. He got hurt in that game. The first game back against the Giants, he had 5 catches. It was his first game back from injury. I mean, a little bit of a slow start to the year for him with catches. They played the Broncos defense and they played the Lions, and you know what I mean? So they, a little bit of a rough start, but really what I'm focusing on is the last 5 games. He's cashed in 3 of his last 5 games, a 60% hit rate. He's had some pretty big games, 9 catches versus the Chargers, 8 catches versus the Panthers, 9 catches versus the Saints. And again, those last 2 games were games where they needed to win those to make the playoffs. So when the going got tough and they needed to make plays, Mike Evans was the guy they went to. He's a number 1 receiver. He's a future Hall of Famer for a good reason. The Commanders actually, like I said, their pass defense not bad. 9th for receptions allowed to wide receivers, only giving up about 11.6 receptions per game to wide receivers. But Mike Evans, again, if you're going to throw the football, he is for sure the go-to guy. Now, the target share looks a little bit closer than it actually is. He has a 19.5% target share, 110 targets. It's a lot high. It should be a lot higher than that. The thing is, he missed like 4 or 5 weeks where, a lot of other guys got more targets. Mike Evans is far and away. Like the next best receiver is Jalen McMillan.
Yep.
He's got 10 points, 58 targets on the year. Other than that, he's targeting Cade Otton. He's targeting the running backs. There really is no other wide receiver besides maybe McMillan who's coming anywhere close to the Mike Evans targets. So, again, I know the data overall isn't fantastic on this spot, but again, look at the last 5 games for him. He's averaging about 9.4 targets per game. If we just narrow it to the last 4 games, 11 targets versus the Chargers, 8 versus the Cowboys, 9 versus the Panthers, 14 targets versus the Saints. He's getting to throw the football his way a lot. I know the last game obviously was an incentive-based thing, so that's why his targets probably a little higher there. But
to some degree, but there's still, I mean, like you're mentioning the last 4 games. I did the math here. So you meant his target share last 4 games. So not the last 5. His last 4 games, 31% target share.
Yeah.
Last 2 games to close out the year, 35% target share on average. So those are like whopping numbers. So you're spot on there.
Yeah. And like I said, I think in this game where you're going to have, like I said, you and I are both kind of on the over there where we think it's going to be a more high-scoring affair. Look, if they're going to have to score a lot of points, who is Baker Mayfield going to turn to other than Mike Evans? You know what I mean? Like, yes, they have other guys too, but, I think in this game, especially if it's close and it comes down to the wire and they need to make some plays, Mike Evans is the guy to go to. So, and I think like the Commanders' defense is really solid, but like, who is their number 1? I don't even know, like, what's their number 1 corner?
I guess Tyrann Mathieu is Lattimore. Is he?
Oh, I forgot that they.
Is he healthy? I wouldn't honestly. I don't think that I would worry too much about it. But yeah, he's probably.
I forgot they got Marshawn Lattimore. Actually, that actually helps my case because if you know the history between these 2 guys, they hate each other.
Oh, I love that now. You know what? I liked this play. I think that because Mike Evans is a dog. Like I'd take him in that. I like that. But I guess yeah, you're probably. I would assume he's going to get the Lattimore spot there. Obviously.
Oh, that's gonna be popcorn ready kind of a matchup. I forgot they honestly traded for Lattimore. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't think I said Tyrann Mathieu. I was thinking of Lattimore, but is Tyrann Mathieu even on the?
He's on the Saints still.
Yeah. That was where my wires got crossed, but I eventually got to Lattimore. So
you got it. Hey, that just I think that I like it a lot more now. I already liked it, but I liked it even more. Like Mike Evans, those 2 and like that's what sometimes with the NFL where I love the NBA. Don't get me wrong, but like the NFL still has rivalries. Like there are guys who genuinely hate each other in the NFL. That like if they get the opportunity, they're gonna try to kick their ass. Like that's the NBA. Like everyone, they're all
especially a wide receiver defensive back matchup. Like that's awesome.
You don't see that too often anymore, but the NFL still happens every now and again. But Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore has been one of the most fun player rivalries of the last decade. Like these 2 literally hate each other.
Let's see. I'm trying to pull up. Is this the last few? No, this last time he played Marshawn Lattimore, it looks like he had 9 receptions, 14 targets, and 89 yards. So, yeah, I mean, that's got to be a good sign for you. I was gonna say this that just like I said, the Bucks obviously like all of a sudden boom score in these bunches and whatnot. That's Mike Evans too, especially from receptions. Now I like his yards, receptions, touchdown, whatever. Like Mike Evans has been that guy. Like he is somehow everyone knows how good he is, and somehow he's still underrated in my opinion. But he'll be a guy that has 1 catch going into the end of the second quarter to third. And then he has a drive in which it's like, what just happened? He has 6 catches now. So
Yeah.
totally aligns with, I guess, what I'm saying with the, me taking that over, like you mentioned, the idea of, just like, oh, the Bucks, they kind of seem like they're in a stall. They're stagnant right now. And then boom, 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 Mike Evans all of a sudden has, needs one more catch in the second half to catch this. So yeah, I like this one. I think you're getting great odds for it too. I think that the fact that it's, Baker Mayfield and him almost against the world right now. I know they have the good run game, but you can't tell me that these guys aren't looking at each other in the huddle in the locker room being like, let's go. Like if neither one of these guys, Baker Mayfield more so, because even when Evans was out, that offense still kind of rocked. But if either if these two guys are on the same page this year, and yeah, now I'm just like fired up thinking about the Lattimore matchup too, especially against like what is now. I think that you could say he's helped their secondary, but overall it's been like a pretty bad secondary all year. Yes, they're allowing a lot of passing yards and stuff. I think you mentioned that when we talked about the over, but that's because they've been winning games. They've had a lot of they're this season been passed on the 5th most frequency. That obviously is going to correlate to like the third most yards. You know what I mean? So it's like I get that.
When I said Washington's not giving up a lot, they're third best. Like they're not giving up many yards.
No, I know, but that's what that's. I guess okay, fine. I see what you're saying, but either way, I don't see why the Bucks would be like, oh, we're gonna run it. Yes, Bucky Irving's good, but you're gonna get spots in which they force it to Mike Evans. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's wide open. So yeah, I like this spot, and I'm excited for that matchup.
If they do lean in the running game, if you got obviously football, people know this, but like the run creates the pass. Like if you're running, all of a sudden the defense pinches in a little bit more. Now you open up for some play action plays, some more opportunities. So yeah, I think this is a good spot.
Yeah, I honestly kind of like. So that is, I mean, now we're heading into the fade me round, right? Those are those. I think that we have I like your plays this week.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the easiest week to I like it. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but
I think we both have. And again, I'm not just saying this to kiss ass. Like we both have really good plays. Like I like all yours. I like all mine. Like I think considering there's only 6 games to choose from.
Yeah,
we got some pretty good value. The only pick I'm honestly the most shaky about is my own, the Vikings one. That's the one where I'm like, that's a toss up, but.
That's fair.
But even that, I still like the play.
Yeah, I do too. All right, now we have Fade Me. If you guys don't know what Fade Me is, it is what really sets the show apart. We're going to spin this wheel just like you saw at the beginning. It's not deciding the order now. It is going to decide one person that can make a play that they do not have to fit into any sort of, criteria of the wheel. We can make a play on anything this week. The other person immediately has to take the other side of it and take the odds that correlate. So yeah, if it lands on me, I'm making a pick. Tasos has to fade it. If it lands on Tasos, obviously he makes the pick and then I have to fade it. Tasos, do you want the first playoff wheel of season 2 of H2H here? Do you want the fade me?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I have strategy too.
All right. Let's go ahead.
Too.
Let's go ahead and spin it. It's probably going to be me.
It's going to be you. Sugar plums.
All right. It's going to be me. Fade me. My fade me's have been pretty decent as of late. So I'm kind of trusting them. What I will say is I'm going in a player prop direction. It's not all that. It's not all that ridiculous. Okay. I don't think you're going to like it though. I'm trying to decide now.
Not.
You may be able to guess what I'm deciding between because it's been something that I've thought about and asked you about multiple times this year. So I have I think I'm just going to go with the what I would consider the easier one. We have the best red zone defense in the Chargers going up against the 26th ranked red zone offense in the Texans. Kai Fairbairn, Kaimi, whatever his damn name is, right?
I knew it. You're doing over. I knew it.
Over 1.5 field goals made. Now, the thing that I was saying that I was kind of conflicted between, right, was do I go kicker points? Do I go field goals? But the fact that they are so damn solid in the red zone, I like this. Now, on the bright side for you, to be honest, he hasn't hit 2 in 2 weeks here, and you're getting plus 110 for him if he makes 1 or less field goals. I have the odds of, what is it right now? Minus 145. So again, I'm pretty juiced through this week, but I like this kicker prop very much so, and I'm kind of glad that I fit it in there. So yeah, give me him over 1.5 field goals made, minus 145 against the best red zone defense on the season. Now, in fairness, they've allowed they've only allowed they're ranked 11th in field goals made, the Chargers. So it's not like it's been like a cash cow against them, but I mean, I know you hate the kicker props.
I said it. I'm like, when you got it and you got so excited to say, and then the minute you said player prop, I'm like, he's going kicker prop, and there's nothing I can do about it. All of the positive vibes that were going for me going into Fade Me is now gone.
That's how it works every week. You either love the board or hate the board, both of us, based on that Fade Me round.
I don't like, this is a perfect play. Like, I don't know why I don't think about this more.
Like, he's jinxing it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm God forbid, Kaimi Fairbairn, whatever.
God forbid he misses some, but no, I mean, it's just logical. Like, the Chargers defense is solid. The Texans offense cannot score touchdowns right now. They're gonna, but they do have at least they do have some playmakers where I could see them at least getting into field goal range a couple times. And because the Texans defense is also solid, again, I already bet the under in this one. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game.
Yep.
It's going to be tough to find touchdowns in this spot. Houston's going to have to kick a couple of field goals here. It's a great pick.
Would you, I asked you this each time, field goal probably makes more sense than his kicking point's a 7.5, right? So
yeah,
I think
field goal is probably the better, especially in this one, because I don't know how many touchdowns Houston. I mean, I know touchdowns doesn't really matter, but I think the problem in this game is I just don't know how much Houston's going to be able to score. Yep. And then if you take 7.5, and let's say they score 21 points, you know what I mean? It's 3 touchdowns. Now you only get 3 points. I mean, I guess either way you lose in that scenario, but I think field goals is the more valuable play.
That's what I was thinking. What was going to be? You said you had a strategy. Were you going to go big favorite or something? What were you doing?
I was going Bills money line.
Really?
I was going to go. Which actually, as I was thinking, I'm like, Sean Payton's a really good coach. Like,
imagine the Broncos plus 360. You give me that to end your season.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? Like, as much I think Buffalo's going to win that game, but like, I would be a little nervous. Like, imagine, because if I lose that bet, you immediately win you win the week.
Exactly, yeah. But that would be, so guys, again, Fade Me. Obviously, Tasos wouldn't be taking a minus 440 on his own type of thing. But with Fade Me, I have to take the opposite side. So if the Bills even win, yes, he barely makes anything units-wise, but I lose a unit. So there's strategy that goes into that. But I went a little bit more. You do have a plus money spot here for a guy that hasn't cashed in 2 weeks. But again, I do really like the spot. Sure, but I had a feeling you were going either Ravens or Buffalo. But I think that Buffalo, at home against a rookie quarterback probably is a spot. So I when you said you had a strategy, I was like, well, it's probably not picking like a toss-up play. It's got to have some sort of strategy. So I figured
my actual strategy was I was going to go ahead and rock with Steelers alternate spread minus 10.5. So that was my actual play. No.
What would the odds be? Let me check. Steelers minus 10.5. What would those odds must be crazy. Plus 1,500. Imagine you hit that one. You're like, I would hand you the head-to-head crown. I'd be like, you have it. I don't need like you win. Kind of you win.
Watch it hit now. Watch them win by like 11. I'm like, oh shit, I should have taken it.
Well, hey, if it hits, Tasos takes credit for it. If it doesn't, this is just hypothetical. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. But if it hits, you were speaking legitimately.
Oh, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna plaster on every wall that I said Steelers minus 10.5 in this playoff game plus 1,500. Even though I didn't actually make it an official play. I said it though.
All right. So in terms of the board now, you still obviously like the board, but you feel a little bit like that now you feel like the Fade Me is working against you?
It definitely, it hurts. I mean, it's only one pick, so I mean, at least the problem with yours is I liked your picks, and so I question where the losses for you are going to come from. And then what that creates now is a scenario where I have to I hope all my picks hit. Like, I can't rely on you for losses.
Yeah, because I like yours as well, but now obviously me giving the Fade Me, I can almost like mentally, does it work out this way? Who knows? But like mentally account for a loss already for you because I like mine so much. So it's like I'm looking at what I would consider a 4-0 week versus at worst a 3-1. But that being said, I do have a lot of juiced plays. So, I need to rattle off a decent amount of wins in this week, or it's going to come down to like last week, which was pretty much a unit. You barely, what was it, 0.3 that you took the win. So anything can happen in this show, which is why it's great and why it's kind of like turn-based. You know what I mean? We do the units and then you move on. If we were just doing a unit counter all year long, there'd be way different strategies involved and whatnot. But the fact that you can get in, get out, wipe your hands clean, whether you win by 4 units or 0.3 units, it's a win for that week. I think is pretty nice. But all right, anything that we are missing before we close out today?
Go Irish. Go Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, they're playing tonight.
I don't know when this is coming out. It might already be. This could age also horribly if this comes out tomorrow and they lose, which they're not going to lose. They're going to beat Penn State. But go Irish.
All right, yeah, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out where I like it. I have to watch your video to see if I can get sold, which a lot of the times I do get sold. I still remember when Oregon beat, obviously earlier in the year, beat Ohio State. That was one of my bigger college football days
I
of
will
the year.
say, just if you guys are like, the bowl games were a disaster for me. The playoffs, though, I talked about
Yeah, you
yesterday
crushed 5-0 in one of those videos, right?
5-0 my last on the New Year's Day, whereas like the college ball quarterfinals, I went 5-0, and then I also hit the day before I had Penn State against Boise State. So I've actually now my record for playoff games is 10-2. So like but bowl games have been a disaster. But that's also college football is a broken system. But anyways, but yeah, but go check out that video. I also have the Ohio State Texas video coming out soon, which is also either today or tomorrow. That's also going to be a really fun game. But yeah, go Irish, crush Penn State. Let's get to the national title game and we'll go from there. But
All right.
I'm nervous. We typically, it's weird because with Brian Kelly, we'd always know we were going to lose these games, but like now it's like with Marcus Freeman, I don't know. Like we actually the juices are actually have the play like a champion today sign like above me, so I'll be smacking
Okay.
that before I leave the studio today.
Okay. But all right, with that said, I guess I'll say, at least to keep the vibes high on the show, go Irish. I'm not sure where I come out on that game yet, but you know what? I do think I lean in that direction as of right now because I have a few, you included, and then a few buddies that are on Notre Dame tonight. But yeah, with that said, we'll close up shop here for Wild Card Week. Very excited to take this into the playoffs. Again, the show is really fun. I know you guys enjoy it, and we probably nothing that we could talk about yet, Tasos, right? But we just have some ideas about like how to maybe continue something going on with H2H so that it doesn't just go boom at the end of the season. So more to come on that. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with that little teaser, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.